Guys, I don't know if you remember the last time that we all actually had dinner together, but I actually cut it short. I left, and the reason I gave, I'll go ahead and say it right now. I had a yoga class I had to go take, and I'm still doing that for whatever that is, but balance is a big part of that. And balance training is supposed to impact our quality of life and longevity. There's even something called the 10-second balance test. You try to keep standing on one leg for more than 10 seconds, something admittedly a lot of older adults find very difficult, which got me thinking it's not just, personal balance, but also financial balance that we should be practicing. How often should someone check their portfolio? And when they do a portfolio checkup, or when you guys do a portfolio checkup, how can you tell if someone is in balance or not?
Well, that's a great question. I do remember the yoga.
Yeah, I do too.
I probably should be doing some yogas myself as well. I do need to get out there a little bit more and do that. When you're looking at your portfolio, after I would say 25 plus years of experience of working with investors, the investors that look at their investments on a short-term basis tend to make more short-term, painful, wrong decisions. Okay. When you look at your portfolio, I think that you should set up a regular schedule of when to look at your portfolio. So as somebody that's close to or in retirement time, it may make sense to look at things on a quarterly basis to rebalance. And the second time to look at your portfolio is when the markets are out of the normal, right? So there's normal market conditions. Those times maybe look at things on a quarterly basis, but there's going to be times like what we're experiencing here in the year 2022 with the market being a little bit more volatile. And when the market's, down 20%, or if it's up 20%, when it reaches those type of thresholds are important times to consider it. So, if the market's down 20%, maybe you set that as a parameter to buy back into equities because they're on sale. If the market's down 30%, maybe that's a point that you buy back more equities and so on. So having those predetermined levels are a good way to do it and taking a look at your portfolio.
The experts say that it's never too late to do a balance test for yourself. And as you well know, I hit the big 6-0 this year, and I am living proof that standing on one leg for 10 seconds is a chore. It's hard. And I've seen a lot of videos, you see these goofy videos and, try to bend over and put your socks on without, just bend straight over. It's very, very difficult. So Nolan, how is it too late to do a balance test on your portfolio? And if not, when should you?
I think it's never too late really to do that. In fact, people that are young should be doing that. If somebody's younger, though, they have plenty of time to make up for those mistakes, and they have plenty of time to continue to save. So, maybe if a younger investor was a little bit too aggressive early on and the market went down, losing money on a statement never feels good. But if that investor is continuing to contribute into their retirement plan, they're actually buying more and more shares, while the market's down. So when the markets recover, they're going to be able to participate much better in that recovery. When you're close to retirement time, you're pretty much on target. So you've really got to kind of keep a little bit of a closer eye onto it. But, when you do a portfolio checkup and how to tell if someone is out of balance, I would say the technology that we have today has dramatically improved the ability to determine if a portfolio is out of balance or not. And if we think about like the healthcare industry today, think about all the advances that we've had in the healthcare industry today with technology. Those same type of things ring true for an investor. One of the things that we do in our clients when we get together with them and we have reviews and or when we meet with people for the first time is we create an independent portfolio analysis. Within the independent portfolio analysis, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to tell you what level of risk that you're taking.
Sure.
And we can measure it from 0 to 100, with 100 being the highest risk. So instead of asking the traditional question of, are you a conservative, moderate, or an aggressive investor, we can literally pinpoint exactly what your risk number is. And that way, then you would know, 95% of the time, these would be the normal ranges of returns within your portfolio.
So if I brought in my statement and you're running this program for me, you'll be able to tell without asking how I'm currently vested.
Correct.
It may not be what I think I am.
Right.
Because I may say, well, I'm a conservative, but I may have a very aggressive portfolio at this point. That's when you work your magic, right?
Well, that's true. So if you said you're a conservative investor and you have a risk score of 60, that might indicate that your portfolio doesn't line up. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take you through a series of questions. Those questions are like, do you like this investment better or that investment? This one or that one? It's kind of like the eye doctor test,
the eye
right?
exam, yep.
So we're trying to get laser-focused 20/20 vision on what your perfect portfolio looks like. From there, the way that you get to the correct portfolio position is by portfolio optimization is the key word there. So the software that we have, what it does is it says, based upon the level of risk that you're willing to take, is your portfolio optimized in the most efficient manner to try to achieve the outcomes of what you're trying to do? And what our software does is it gives you a grade point average. So I have a kid in high school and one in college, and we're always talking about what's your GPA, what's your grade point average. And as we know, we always want them shooting for as high as possible. 4.0 is all A's, 4.3 is if you're getting some honors classes. So if I look at a portfolio and it has a GPA score of 3, that would say, you know what, there's probably some work to do to be able to optimize the portfolio. A number nerd like me, then I have the ability to really drill deep down where I can look at things like, overlap, standard deviation. I can look at, how much beta or risk is in the portfolio. One of the other favorite things that I like to take a look at is I take a look at, what is the upside and downside capture. So, when times are good, this software will say, here's what percentage you should capture when times are good. So in this case, we wanted to try to capture as much of the good as possible.
Sure.
And then when times are bad, how much of the bad side are you going to participate in the downside capture? So, in the perfect world, if such a world existed, you'd want to capture as much of the good and avoid as much of the bad, right? Now, if you haven't looked at that in the past, I would say, again, we can take your information, we can put it in our independent portfolio analysis and provide you the printout of those stats so you know exactly where you're at. Using that is going to be the best way to figure out, is your portfolio on track and is it in balance for where you're trying to be?
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Is it too late? Is it ever too late to figure out my balance, right?
Not at all.
Let's say that I'm 68 years old, I've retired, haven't really had a balance test in probably the last 15 years or so, and now I'm like, okay, I'm pushing 70. I don't want to rebalance now because it's just too late. Is that ever the case?
No, I don't think so. So you talk about the 10-second balance test that you took. You found it a little more difficult as you're getting older. I'm in, my mid-40s, so I've got you beat by a little bit. Hopefully I could stay up.
Yes.
But you're in pretty good health, too. I have clients that are in their 70s, 80s, and 90s and still doing the financial balance check. Makes sense at all age. One of the things that we have a lot of rules of thumb in our industry, and one of them that they talk about is as you get older, you should be safer with your money. So somebody in their 90s, they might need a little bit more support so they don't get knocked down with their balance test when it comes to their finances, meaning maybe they shouldn't take as much risk, later on in life as when they're younger. And that same principle applies. So whether you're close to or in retirement time, doing the balance test makes a lot of sense. Probably the most crucial time. So like, when is it that you get that stress test, right? When is it that you had to have that at age 40 or at age 50? Here's what everybody should have healthcare wise. What I would say to that answer is, for those of you that are listening, if you haven't done a balance test, the most important time to do it is the 5 years before or the 5 years after retirement. That is the red zone that we want to make sure that we can have your balance strong to be able to last throughout the rest of your retirement lifetime.
So this just hit me as you were talking and explaining that. Have, in your experience, you've been doing this, 26, 28 years, something like that. Have you ever come across somebody that's like maybe 80, 82, 84 years old and very aggressive with their portfolio? And you look at it and you go, sir or ma'am, you're like 84 years old. You might want to slow down a little bit. Have you ever come across that with anybody?
Yeah, I have. And you know what? There's no perfect answer for everybody.
Right.
So what's different is I just met with some people recently that you're just describing, Well, these people had such strong sources of reliable income between, guaranteed income sources like pension and Social Security. They didn't need their investments, so it gave them the luxury where they could be a little bit more aggressive, potentially increasing what their nest egg was going to be. At the same time, I had run into somebody else, single guy, needed his financial assets, and the firm that he had him with was way too aggressive for this type of environment that it greatly increased the odds of him outliving his money. So it doesn't mean that being conservative is what you have to be in retirement time, and it doesn't mean that, being aggressive is what you have to be if you're younger. It's your own situation and running the balance test to make sure that your portfolio in your retirement is going to be able to stand up throughout the test of the time is the best answer I'd give you.
Sure.
It all comes down to your particular circumstances, having the numbers run for you. As Nolan said, he's fond of doing that, fond of crunching the numbers. So here's the number you need to keep in mind right now, 419-794-3030. That's how you get in touch with America's Retirement Headquarters, schedule a time to speak with them, have your balance test run on your portfolio, 419-794-3030, or online at americasretirementheadquarters.com. I want to thank you so much for joining us today here on America's Retirement Headquarters. There's more to come right after this.